feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college ruled.
Welcome back to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. We're going to get started. Please give our socials likes and comments. Quinn Comedy, Dom DiTolla Comedy, all of that good stuff. And just support all the stuff we got. If you got any suggestions, shoot them our way. Other than that, we are on the hard court. We're on the clay. We're on the grass. We're on all of it today.
And this one's for the ladies.
Ooh, here we go.
That's right. Today we got Monica Seles.
Yep.
The biggest what could have been in probably female tennis history.
Absolutely. It's kind of ridiculous, the trajectory that her career has.
Definitely. So Monica Seles, born December 2nd, 1973 in Novi Sad, Serbia, in the former Yugoslavia, to ethnic Hungarian parents.
That's right.
She had a brother named Zoltan, which I read about, which made me think of Dude, Where's My Car? Zoltan. But Dad was a professional cartoonist.
Yes.
A couple of publications out there.
Started playing tennis at 5. You could tell it was
a coach.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you could tell it was a family thing because her dad was a coach. So, like, it was, like we always say with these kids, it's like ball in the crib, you know? So,
yeah,
it's,
totally.
Yeah.
Or Pete Sampras down there in the tool shed.
That's right. Whacking.
It said her dad would draw her pictures to make tennis more fun, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
One of those domineering type of sports parents. At age 11 in 1985, she won the Junior Orange Bowl tournament in Miami, Florida. And she was noticed by a tennis coach. We've talked about him, I think, in our Agassi episode.
We definitely did talk about him in our Agassi episode, old Nick Baratelli. But he is, if you look at these tennis players from like the 80s and 90s, he is like, they all go to his school or like have him as a coach or like some sort of interaction with him.
He just shows up.
Yes.
He's like the Forrest Gump, only he teaches you really good tennis.
So her and her brother end up attending his academy.
Yeah, which pretty late 80s, a pretty good time to get out of Serbia.
Yes.
If you don't know anything about world events. You can go look that up on your own, but man, talk about luck right there.
Because you're not wrong. It was the great timing for that family to just kind of go and immigrate essentially to the U.S.
Yeah, so in early 86, her and her brother go to tennis school, train for a couple of years, and parents finally arrive by 1990 or 87, get out of Yugoslavia. And when she comes to the States and starts playing full-time, even as a teenager, she is just dominating the hell out of everyone.
Yep. In 88 at 14, she entered her first pro tourney. So that's how, like, you can tell she was like, could compete at that level at 14.
Oh, 100%. By February of the following year, she's turned pro full-time, wins her first title, I believe, in Houston over the person we did an episode on, Chris Evert.
Chris Evert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that was right when Chris Evert was like about to retire, but it was like one of those spider webs that you probably wouldn't even have thought that they would have played. And we
talked about that in the Sampras episode. Tennis is one of those sports where the changing of the guard is much more evident than in others because it's like one-on-one, you know?
Yep.
Like it's not like a team versus a team.
And you can almost see it because they'll win in like straight sets and you're like, oh, they're done.
It's finished. Yeah.
It's done.
So later that year, she gets all the way to the semis of the French Open until losing to Steffi Graf, and she'll come back later.
Steffi won. We'll talk about Steffi one more time. That's all I'm saying.
At least one more time. We talked about her in the Agassi episode, but this is a completely different type of thing,
and something that is completely her fault.
Oh my God.
We're gonna get into it.
Hashtag don't sue. Anyway, 1990.
1990 is when
her year.
I was going to say she becomes like this pro that everybody really starts to fear. A bit of a slow start and then 36 match straight winning streak that is so ridiculous because it goes in and out of slams.
Well, I mean, 36 in a row. And when this isn't like Goldberg spearing people going yes and winning streak. This is like competition on the level. And she's a teenager.
Yep.
She's still a teenager kicking the crap out of people. It's 16.
She won the Lipton Players Champ, the Eckhart Open, the Italian Open, this one in Germany, which the Lufthansa, yes, beating Graf on that one
in the final.
She won the French Open, so that was her first Grand Slam.
Mm-hmm. Beat Steffi Graf in this final,
and she was the youngest French Grand Slam singles champion at 16 years and 6 months. So it was definitely this like coming onto the scene like I'm the shit, you know. A quarterfinal loss in Wimbledon, but Wimbledon was never her best.
That's when they got away, man.
Yep.
And that's when they got. But she wins the Virginia Slims of Los Angeles. Bring back cigarettes. I mean, what are we going to have? In the 5 years for college football, we're going to have the Jewel Bowl.
Oh, man. Bring back the Virginia Slim sponsorship.
Virginia Slims, ladies.
Ladies.
What else are the other vaping companies? Whatever.
Yep.
Just bring back cigarettes is what I'm saying.
Elf Pod Bowl game.
Played probably in Tucson.
Oh, God. I could actually see that.
That is exact. Beating Martina Navratilova in that one. Yep. Much like Chris Evert, as we discussed in that episode. Probably at the end of her career. But still, it's changing to the guard.
Yep. Finishes the year ranked number 2 to Steffi Graf. So
she's hot on her heels. Chris.
That's right. And then we get into 91, and it's hard to imagine what it's going to be like we're going to get into it obviously, but just her domination in 91 and 92 is just so ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Goes in immediately, wins the Australian Open, becomes the world number 1, wins the French Open.
Yep.
Pulls out of Wimbledon because she had shin splints, and in this year
probably could have won, dude.
Yep. In this year she won 10 of the 16 tourneys she actually entered. So it's
3 Grand Slams though.
Yep, 3 Grand Slams.
She wins the U.S. Open.
She wins the U.S. Open. It's quite a ridiculous feat when you think about how dominant she is with Steffi Graf, who is like one of the best.
And she's in her prime too.
Yes.
This isn't like a Martina or a Chrissy Everett type of end of her career. This is her at her absolute best and going, why am I losing?
Yes. No, seriously.
Why is this happening?
Why?
But she also wins the most important tournament, again, the Virginia Slims.
That's true. Very true. Back-to-back winner.
And finishes number 1 in the world.
And I don't know if you know this, if you're a back-to-back winner, you get a lifetime supply of Virginia Slims. So.
Which is, if you're any athlete worth their salt is smoking Virginia Slims, Chris.
You need it.
Pall balls, what are those?
What do I like to relax after a stressful day of tennis? Some Virginia Slims.
I could see that being a commercial in the 60s without any hint of like
irony
or just like
it relaxes me. Yes.
Yeah. It relaxes.
Yes.
Get it. 92. Sorry.
We should have commercials like that, like an 80s one. It was just be like, I just like to do a snifter of cocaine. It brightens me up right after our tennis match. Seriously, put together fucking.
I'm here to talk about safety at the stadium. And you know what? Nothing beats asbestos.
We're gonna make the grass out of it. We're gonna make everything. Helmets, I'm telling you. It's the safest material in the world.
And we're using on our field Roundup. All right, I'm going to hell. That's terrible.
We're using Roundup. I know it. I just said it's not real grass. I'm telling you, it's even better. Oh man, we're gonna get those commercials going.
We got off track pretty quickly there, but still,
that's fine.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
That's fine. You know, sometimes we go off track. That's where the best memories are made. So, there you go.
Okay, 92. This is height of her powers, Monica Seles.
Yes.
Here. Mm-hmm.
Nobody, and this is the other thing that people were saying too, was she was winning in straight sets. So she was sweeping games where it wasn't even like it didn't look like the other women were even in competition with her.
And she was winning in straight sets against really good players. It's
Great.
not like she was just like, first or second round taking out the scrubs. She's kicking the crap out of these people.
And it's not a down point in women's tennis where you're like, well, no, there's still like, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, this 91 to 93. But in 92,
yes,
Australian Open again, where that's her dominant place. French Open again. U.S. Open again. She actually makes the finals of Wimbledon, but loses, which I always think is interesting if you go back, because I watched some of those, and because Wimbledon's on grass, and they said that it wasn't that like her game didn't suit it. She just like was just like unlucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she lost to Steffi Graf in the finals.
Yes.
So I mean,
because that was her like dominance so much so that it was like, if she kept going, she would definitely have had a Wimbledon. There wouldn't have been a doubt, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Found this interesting stat from January of 91 to February of 93. She won 22 titles and went to the finals of 33 of the 34 tournaments she entered.
So if you were winning a title, you had to beat her.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing, the other dominance that you kind of... Because she has so many second places, but everybody knows it's first or last.
Oh, yeah.
So, but to go to the finals in 33 of 34, it's insane.
And these are like, it's not 33. These are Grand Slam finals.
Yes.
These are not like, we're not
This isn't the
Virginia.
Virginia-
We're not Virginia slimming it up.
This isn't the Elf Bar
God, no.
San Diego Open, okay? She went 55-1 in Grand Slam win losses. The Wimbledon loss was the one in that stat sheet.
Yeah, that's what made it so much more incredible. Is like
Her win percentage is 98%. It's insane.
This is we're talking like Patriots with Brady type of winning percentage. Like, it's just absolutely amazing. Like, the star now of women's tennis. Like, I mean, she's undisputed star.
That's true.
That's very true.
She's on top of the world.
And we get into 93.
Nobody's talking about Steffi Graf. Get into 93, back to the Aussies, back to the, Vegemite. She wins again and beats Graf in the final again. And this kind of sets up what would be coming up, because she is constantly beating Steffi Graf.
Constantly beating her.
Like, in all the finals.
And then in April of that year,
April 30th, 93. That was good.
She goes to
Hamburg.
a tournament in Germany, in Deutschland.
Called the Citizen Cup.
And she's in this tennis match against Magdalena Milena, I believe.
That's a pretty good name.
I feel like that's close enough.
Her manager, Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson. I'm Chris Christopherson.
Magdalena is, you know what I mean?
Milena, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. But this man who was like in the audience just kind of like slid up to where she was.
Gunter Park.
Thank you.
Perche.
And stabbed her with a 9-inch blade.
I mean, this is some serious McPoyle shit. Like, legit, you get fork stabbed, Charlie.
Yep.
Like, and it's not comical like in Happy Gilmore when a Volkswagen hits him and goes into a TV tower, which we can all laugh at a man on fire putting it out yelling, "Jackass!"
Oh, Happy, look out!
Oh my God, I love it. This is actually very serious and terrible.
Yes.
And this mentally disturbed man. So, like, they were thinking, why would someone stab Monica Seles? And at that time, in 93, as we had brought up before, this is at the height of those early 90s Yugoslav independence / ethnic cleansing wars.
Yep.
She's Hungarian ethnic-wise. She just happens to be from Serbia.
Yeah.
But you're thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody has a bone to pick because it's Europe. Okay, that's all I could say.
Well, they thought it might have been a political statement about the wars that were happening to split up Yugoslavia. It came out that he was just a completely insane man, obsessed with Steffi Graf.
Not a Galuli situation.
No, not a Galuli situation. Somebody alluded to that earlier in the episode. That wasn't it.
People are calling me Galuli. Macaroni Midler. Damn.
Oh, now you cry? And that's the thing that, God, I lost my train of thought on that one.
So she got stabbed.
She got stabbed.
So we're sad.
In the middle. He was obsessed with Steffi Graf, and he thought if she stabbed her, she would stop playing tennis, and then Steffi would become number one.
I mean, what?
My only thing is I can't deny the results.
You're saying he's like one of those bad cops, but stays on the force because he gets results.
I gotta keep him on the force. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's disturbing.
It's so obviously we're making jokes about it, but it is so disturbing, and the blowback from it. So I think it said it took her like 3 or 4 weeks to recover.
Yeah,
but it took her 2 years to ever come back to the tennis court. She was talking about how the safety for tennis wasn't there. Like if you look at other sports,
she had her back turned.
Yes.
And she even said after they made these changes, those probably aren't enough if somebody really wanted to run out here.
And that's what she was saying. It was just like, cool, so now we get to see them coming at us.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It really
I'm armed with a racket, but,
and that's what she was saying was it's hard for her to get back in the mindset of being locked in a professional setting. Also,
you have PTSD.
Yes, we look at what happened to the guy who essentially he got like a 2-year suspended sentence because he was like, they deemed him mentally ill, and she thought that was ridiculous because of the way the German law system was set up. She was just like, no, that guy should be in jail.
Well, we all know the Germans and their laws, Chris, over the course of time. So
she steeps, like you were saying, PTSD, goes into depression. She actually develops an eating disorder in this time. She is unbelievably like disconnected and didn't know if she was going to come back to tennis.
Which is number one, her own health and safety is the most important part. But my God, just to be on the top of the world and have just some crazy asshole derail it.
Yes.
Like just throw it completely off the rails. Because it's not... I feel like if she like tore an ACL or Achilles or something gave out while she was playing, it would just be like, well, shit happens. I can get back. Because like injuries are part of sports, not crazed men with a knife.
And that's what she said. It's hard for her to stay in that because you have to be in that focused mindset constantly. And it's hard for her to do that when she's like fearing for her life. You know what I mean? That's just not how it's gonna go.
Man, I wonder how I should play this next this deuce situation. Oh wait, does that guy have a blade up there? Like what the
exactly.
Heck?
So
next couple of years are pretty much just losses.
Yep.
Like in terms of the loss to history. Number one, she's barely coming back into tennis despite all the positive outpouring.
She gets her U.S. citizenship in this time.
Yeah,
There's
winning team.
Yep,
winning
stuff
team.
like that. But like we were saying, like the she comes back and is just a different tennis player.
Yeah, but it's definitely like excusable as far as like why she is, which makes it unfortunate. But by January '96, she's got some juice left in the tank.
I was gonna say because she starts to make one like you see in tennis like a smaller comeback in '95. She's playing like smaller tourneys. '96. People are starting to think like, oh, are we going to see Monica Seles? Like, is this like her coming back and becoming number one again? That was the other thing was there were some people like asking if they should hold her number one ranking because she never technically lost it on a sports injury.
Yeah, I feel like Steffi Graf would have been like, you lose.
No, I think Steffi was one of the ones that was for it.
No, you're right.
Yeah, but I love the German.
You lose.
You lose the blanket.
Oh, no.
So, 96 U.S. Open, goes to the final, and ends up losing to Steffi again.
But in January, she wins the Aussie Open.
That's right.
Which is amazing. Like, it's amazing that she won a Grand Slam after all of that.
And it was her fourth, and it turns out it was actually her last.
It was.
Yeah.
Which, good for her to win in the place where she was completely dominant, like as far as her tennis career.
Because she had, I think, another French Open final and stuff like that. But
yeah, in 98. But over the course of time, she just can't. And there's a new crop of lady tennis players coming. I mean, Graf is kind of hold over, but like there's a new crop of other girls in their late teens
Yep.
joining tennis and doing the same or similar things that she did.
And unfortunately, it felt like she lost her prime. You know what I mean? Like, you look at when she was destroying Steffi, that was her real prime years. And then she really lost.
She was not 20 years old when she was stabbed.
Exactly.
Let me bring that up. Not 20.
Thank you.
She would have had at least another decade if she wanted to. Like,
she wasn't 20 years old. She had, 7 majors or whatever, 7 Grand Slams. And it was like, that's the thing that everyone says, like you said at the beginning of the episode, she is the biggest what if.
yeah. And that's the saddest what if. It's not like she, did a bunch of drugs or like, just went off the rails. Like, no, she was stabbed by a mentally insane person.
Exactly. And that's what really sucks. It was taken away from her by nothing that she did. You know what I mean? Which sometimes like injury will happen, but like you were saying, that's you can't like plan for that, but you can't like not it's going to happen. Like people are definitely going to be injured. You can't be like, well, somebody's definitely going to get stabbed in my professional tennis career. You know what I mean? Like that's what's so
you never hear a guy in a bar going like, man, if it wasn't for that stabbing, I could have been all state. Stabbing?
I could have been all state. You guys, my serve had so much speed on it when he took out my Achilles. Wait, you said stabbing?
Yeah, like Uncle Rico, like, I could have gone pro, but then that guy with a Bowie knife came out of the woodwork, and you're like, well, Napoleon Dynamite just took a very dark and interesting turn. Weekend at Bernie's was a dark and interesting, disturbing tale.
So true.
She did win a bronze medal, though,
yes,
in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of, she keeps playing, but she's not at the top throughout the early part of the 2000s.
And she was making like semifinals and quarterfinals of Grand Slams, but just not the same player, unfortunately. And that's what everybody says. Like coming back from this incident, she just was not at that top elite level.
No, spent basically from 2000 to 2008 with her retirement just in exhibition matches.
Yep.
More than anything, which is very sad. 2009, no. Named to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Didn't want to bring that one up. Also some interesting stats. Won 8 of 11 of their Grand Slam singles titles in her prime. 8 was the most of any teenager in the Open era.
Yep.
That 33-0 in the first 33 matches at the Australian Open.
That's what I mean. In Australia, she was so dominant. Like we were saying, it's hard to say, like, would she have the records on Grand Slams if she kept going? Like,
she could have.
She could have.
I mean, it's not. You always talk about, like, what could have been. It's like, this one's not, like, outside the realm of possibilities.
Yep.
Like, it's actually, like, based in reality. But
yes.
9 Grand Slam singles titles. That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 Tour Finals championships as well. So, I mean... And that's the crazy part. She retired at like 35.
I was going to say, and all of that was done at like 20. You know what I mean? Like she had 1 Grand Slam after this incident that she was 24 or whatever. And you look at it, you're just like, all of that accomplishment and yeah. God.
And she's barely, and I mean, in the wider sport, she barely remembered.
Yeah. That's
Which is even crazier.
Yeah.
It's like that someone could.
Because it was such a small blip of 2 years, but it was such dominance.
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, granted, what that guy did, Jesus Christ, terrible, just awful.
I do think it is, and this is kind of what she said that built into it was like, well, he's out on the streets. You know what I mean? And she said that. She was just like, well, that doesn't make me feel very, like, safe in any open area that everybody knows where I'm going to be.
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, that makes 100% sense.
And they really, like I said, they didn't change the security that much from it.
They just turned the chairs. That was it.
Monica, don't worry. He won't stab you. Your chair is turned.
It would be like if we got stabbed and we started to do the podcasts and we're turned this way. We're just like, no, it's...
Oh, wait, the door's over there.
It's going to work, you guys. We turn the chairs.
Like those old Napoleonic battle squares. You face that way, I'll face this way.
Yep. It's ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. And we'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Virginia Slims.
Yes.
Very important. It's a very important product that needs to be kept selling to everyone in this great nation of ours.
Well, we know when women smoke cigarettes, they don't want the full cigarette.
No.
So this is a cigarette for a lady after a tennis game or whatever you
During a tennis game.
Please enjoy Virginia Slims. I'm just kidding. Monica Seles, I have to say, one of the weirdest turns in sports history because top of the world dropped off, stabbed, like it's insane.
So how about we just remember her for those 9 Grand Slam singles as a freaking teenager?
Yes, exactly.
That's more important.
Yes.
Or there's 9 total, 8 as a teenager.
8 as a teenager. Yeah. No, she was a fantastic tennis star, and she should be remembered more. So.